Been speaking to many, many people in music since lockdown and all the rest of it. Online now, I've got a gentleman who's been around for a long, long time. He has travelled the world, written songs, performed songs, and sang on more occasions than he could ever even remember. And currently number one in our charts with a composition to do with the climate on the world called Stand, Look Around You. I'm delighted to say hello to Danny Carthy. Danny, how are you?
I'm very good. Absolutely brilliant, Jerry. Great. Getting on in years, but otherwise I'm very good.
That is
very good. I'd like to thank your listeners for selecting my song. I mean, it's a song I wrote 30 years ago because I grew up at a time, Jerry, when the word pollution was only in a dictionary. I remember growing up in South Donegal, that's where I was born and reared. And I remember we'd be working in the meadows during the summer, and I could drink out of a stream, and I wouldn't have to worry about pollution. And that's the thing that we've lost enough. You miss the bees, you miss the butterflies, you missed even the wasps, the skylarks. I used to love the skylarks on the clear and summer's day. So that's what actually made me write this song, because I saw nature was changing, even 30 years ago.
Indeed, that is incredible. I mean, that message is certainly resonating through today. And you know, the very interesting thing about it, Danny, is during lockdown, speaking to people and speaking to singers, artists and entertainers, many of them saying, that if there was any plus side to the situation we find ourselves in now, it was the fact that the pollution had dropped drastically, for example, in the sky.
Absolutely, because people haven't been driving as much. And it's the driving, but it's also that we're not protecting the environment. We're not looking after. We're beginning to do something about it now. Where you drive through the countryside in Ireland or Britain, and you see so many cornfields, and you see they used to cut the grass along the roadway in many counties, and this year for the first time they have stopped doing it, and it allows creatures to live even on the side of the road. It allows them the chance to survive, and it's about survival, and it's about protecting the environment for my grandchildren, for your listeners' grandchildren, and for the future of the planet Earth.
Indeed,
that's really what it's all about.
Indeed, so Indeed, so.
And the words are: stand, look around you. 4 words.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, any of us just stand. We sit in the evening here, and we throw out bread, and all the starlings and the birds that come in to feed from the bread that we just threw out. And then watch the swallows. At the apartment block I'm in at the moment, the amount of swallows that are nesting is just unbelievable. And to watch the sky of an evening with the swallows in it is just absolutely fabulous.
Indeed so. And you live in County Kildare.
I live in Newbridge in County Kildare now. I spent most of my life in Maynooth in County Kildare, but I'm now living in Newbridge. I downsized to an apartment because I found my house and my gardens were too big for me, and I've downsized to a lovely apartment. I have access, it's wonderful, 4 minutes walk to a train station, and I can travel the country.
Excellent.
So the important thing is that I love writing. I love writing songs. I love writing even poetry.
Right. Very.
And can I recite a poem for you?
Of course.
Because this is probably one of the first things I ever wrote. And it is one of the first pieces I ever wrote. And it's just called Memories. And it goes something like this. The room so silently has grown, as here I sit upon my own. The winds outside howl so forlorn, as through the trees so big have grown. What memories of another day this room I sit in has to say, as the fire silently burns away, and to another day I stray when I was young, oh so young to play joyfully through those fields, oh those fields of new mown hay, to see the lark upon a clear and summer's day sing so loud and clear, so high, so elegant and fair. A leaping frog through a wet and marshy ground she leaps, as through another pond she seeks. The cow loos a mournful cry, oh why alone must I? Maybe the cry, who knows? The farmer sits, his weary day is done, the sun sinks low, the moon has just begun. And to this room I seek and keep all those yesterdays that bloom again each spring.
Brilliant stuff, Danny. Absolutely brilliant. Now, you've had a huge career with Fiddlers Green. You literally toured.
Yes,
you toured the world.
Absolutely. Well, quite a bit of it, and it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I was lucky, Jerry, that I grew up with music. My dad loved music. My mother loved music. My family, all of my family could sing harmonies, could sing vocal harmonies. We just had that, and it resonated in me. And from the word go, I met with a wonderful Galway guy called Noel Brady, and Noel and myself started the original band, and then two guys that I went to school with in Bundoran, Jimmy Gallagher and John McGarrigle. John used to play with Fitzgerald Cayley Band. He played with Larry Cunningham and the Country Blue Boys. And we had a fantastic band.
Yes.
We played in places in London, like do you remember the Thatch?
I do indeed.
Oh, what a wonderful gig. And my son was in London there about 3 or 4 years ago, my youngest son, and he was talking to a guy who used to sing with Sex Pistols.
Okay.
And do you know where he used to go in the 80s to listen to? He used to go to the Swan in Stockwell in South London to listen to Fiddlers Green.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It's not amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Indeed.
So, but England at that time was fantastic to play in.
Yes.
It was absolutely brilliant. There was fantastic venues: Portsmouth, Eastbourne, Brighton, Reading, London, Manchester, Leeds. You could go on, and there were full houses all the time.
Indeed.
There were so many people, even English, who wanted to come to be Irish for a night, if you know what I mean.
Yes. But you did an astounding success.
And then when we toured America, I mean, we used to play festivals like in Rochester and Buffalo and a place like that. Over a weekend, 50,000 Americans wanted to be Irish.
Amazing stuff.
Fantastic. Amazing, absolutely. And that is the most incredible thing about this little island, that we have an abundance of wonderful culture, wonderful songwriters, wonderful people who can create music, not alone words, but the music to the words, like Jimmy McCarthy, Christy Moore, you name them, Luca Bloom. It can go on, including myself. And we're a nation that, believe it or not, this is true. Do you know how Bob Dylan became a songwriter, the songwriter he is? From going to see the Clancy Brothers in New York when he was only a teenager.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't actually know that, Danny. That is incredible. No. The Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem, they certainly blazed a trail in their day in the US.
Absolutely, and so actually did in the US, and so did the Dubliners with Europe. But do you know who was the backbone behind the Dubliners? A guy called Phil Solomon. He actually owned Radio Caroline.
Yes.
And Phil Solomon took over the management of the Dubliners, and he made them huge with 7 drunken nights, believe it or not.
Yes.
Absolutely. Because that's the music that people wanted and still want.
Yes, exactly. Well, I remember many, many moons ago being in the Lafayette store in the centre of Paris. And the Dubliners were one of the albums it was back in those days, and it was one of the albums there, freely for sale, and obviously one of the top albums selling.
Yes. I mean, but they were the inspiration for guys like me.
Yes.
And they inspired guys like me to write and to be creative and to respect the music that I love.
Yes.
And I'm very lucky. Even I'll be 73 on the 13th of September. And believe it or not, Jerry, I'm as passionate about my music now as I was way back. I was also a cartographer, believe it or not. I made maps for 25 years as well.
Right.
I delivered milk when I was 11 years of age on a pony and trap. So I've had a very full life.
You certainly have.
Very full life.
And listen, Danny, right up until the lockdown and all the rest of it, you were still playing, and you were actually doing some shows in Dublin.
I was playing in a pub in Temple Bar. It was called Lundyfoot's, and what was lovely about it was a restaurant come bar, but they were all mainly tourists. They could be from Germany, could be from Holland, they could be from India, they could be from Pakistan, China, everywhere. And they come in, the place would be packed. And I would do a 2-hour show with a mandolin player. And it was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And people came in to listen. And I would tell the story of, for instance, if I sang Spanshill Hill, I would tell the story of the fair days and all that went with the horse fair down at the crossroads in County Clare. And that's what they wanted to hear.
Yes.
And that's what the world loves still to hear about being Irish, is the fact that we have something that nobody else has. We have it in our sport. We have it in our GAA, in our football, and in our hurling, and we have it in our music.
Yes.
And we are there is no other country in Europe that has the quality of culture. Britain has, England has, Scotland has. England and Scotland, there are some great singer-songwriters that you look at the Carthys and people like that over there. They're still going very strong, And I remember groups from the Spinners. Do you remember the Spinners?
I remember them well. Yes.
They were great. They inspired guys like me.
Yes, they were fantastic.
So folk culture is a wonderful thing, and it should never be allowed to die. And the one great thing for me this evening is that your listeners respect the song I wrote called Stand Look Around You. And
yeah.
That's lovely.
It is.
It's absolutely brilliant.
It is. Well, it's very, very commercial. And I mean, despite the fact I'm astounded that you say you wrote it 30 years ago, because today it seems a very progressive sound on it, as well as a progressive message.
It's the message is the same as it was 30 years ago. Stand, look around you. If you don't look around and watch what nature is around you. I teach my grandchildren that. I taught my children that. To stop and just look at the creatures that are around you. I bring my little granddaughters out into the garden, and I bring them and introduce them to the bees, and they eventually appreciated them, that they weren't worried about the bees stinging them, because they know that bee, unless it's attacked, it won't touch you at all. And it was lovely. They really appreciate the birds and the bees now.
Yes.
Because you introduced them. And that's what it's all about.
Indeed,
introducing and appreciation, Jerry, and that's it. Yeah,
exactly.
And thank you for. I mean, I can't believe that my song is number one on your radio show. It's absolutely fantastic.
There you go. Well done, Danny. You can't say, you're heading on 73 and you're still able to do it. Well done. Well done.
Absolutely, Jerry. And as soon as this pandemic is over, I'd love to go back to London for a few gigs. You know that. I really would. I loved London. I really I used to love playing the Archway. Do you remember the Archway up on the top of Holloway Road?
I remember it well, Danny. Yes.
Yeah. Are they still there?
It is still there, but it's a very sort of a different type of style of place, and would not be, shall we say, as busy as you back in the days that you remember it.
I do, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't remember half the venues we used to play in now, but they were, honestly, every night we used to have just full houses.
Yes.
And it used to be absolutely brilliant. It was great. Great memories.
Indeed.
Great memories.
Ah, magic.
And the fact that my song is there today, 30 years later, it's number one in your radio station. That's wonderful for me.
That's a real...
And I thank you, and I really thank your listeners.
A real pleasure, Danny. Listen, it's been brilliant to catch up with you. I could talk to you. All day. You're an incredibly interesting individual with a rich and varied talent and a rich amount of music out there and performances. Danny, it's been lovely to chat with you.
Thank you indeed, Jerry. And I must send you more of my recordings for the future. Okay.
Excellent stuff. I look forward to receiving them.
And let's keep the environment in a healthy place, okay? You get up, have a look around you, see what nature is there. You'd be surprised. There are more foxes in London City than there are in the country. Do you know that?
Yes. It's amazing.
And badgers. Absolutely. Anyway, Jerry, thank you very much indeed. It's been wonderful.